India's recent military engagement, though undeclared as a formal war, showcased the strength and precision of our armed forces, achieving tactical objectives with remarkable efficiency. However, the absence of an unofficial declaration left room for narrative manipulation despite military success. Prime Minister Modi's first address to the nation and then his meeting with the soldiers today perhaps sent a direct message that there has been a success and the operations against Pakistan have only been kept in abeyance and the future will depend on their behavior. Prime Minister Modi was at Punjab's Adampur Air Base and he interacted with the soldiers. Remember, Adampur was among the Air Force stations that Pakistan attempted to attack on the intervening night of May 9th and 10th after India's Operation Sindoor. Pakistan also claimed that its hypersonic missiles fired from JF-17 fighter jets destroyed India's S-400 air defense system in Adampur, and you saw that clearly being displayed in that image of the Prime Minister himself. Here's how Prime Minister Modi actually punctured Pakistan's baseless allegations while boosting the morale of our air warriors.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने आतंक के खिलाफ लड़ाई में एक नई लकीर खींच दी, एक नया पैमाना, न्यू नॉर्मल तय कर दिया।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi taking the How's the Josh question to the airmen and women at the Adampur Air Force Base days after India brought Pakistan to its knees. The symbolism not lost on anyone.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर से बौखलाए दुश्मन ने इस एयरबेस के साथ साथ हमारे अनेक एयरबेस पर हमला करने की कई बार कोशिश की। बार बार उसने हमें टारगेट किया, लेकिन पाक के नापाक इरादे हर बार नाकाम हो गए।
While Pakistan's defense minister peddles misinformation about India's second largest airbase in the Western Command, one that formed a key hub of Operation Sindoor without any quantifiable proof. India hit not only 9 terror hubs and numerous military installations in the heart of Pakistan, but also busted Pakistan's false propaganda with Prime Minister Modi's visit to Adampur IAF base, reiterating India's red line on terror.
भारत ने अब 3 सूत्र तय कर दिए हैं। पहला, भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ, हम अपने तरीके से, अपनी शर्तों पर, अपने समय पर जवाब देंगे। दूसरा, कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। तीसरा, हम आतंक की सरपरस्त सरकार और आतंक के आकाओं को अलग अलग नहीं देखेंगे।
On display at the base were a MiG-29 and a S-400 missile system, and of course the valor and high spirits of our brave warriors.
भारत माता की, भारत माता की। नेवी ने समुद्र पर अपना दबदबा बनाया, सेना ने बॉर्डर पर मजबूती दी और भारतीय वायुसेना ने अटैक भी किया और डिफेंड भी किया। बीएसएफ और दूसरे बलों ने भी अद्भुत क्षमताओं का प्रदर्शन किया है। इंटीग्रेटेड एयर एंड लैंड कॉम्बैट सिस्टम ने शानदार काम किया और यही तो है जॉइंटनेस।
Unlike Pakistan, India has provided proof of every move it has made. Transparency and zero tolerance have been the hallmark of India's stand on terror. Pakistan, on the other hand, has played the night rider in the subcontinent, not only sponsoring terror, but also standing by it. The question is, has the Operation Sindoor driven the point home, or will the pause need to be lifted to root out terrorism? Bureau Report, NDTV.
And the Minister of External Affairs today came on record. It perhaps clearly set the record straight on US intervention on mediation, as well as calling out Pakistan's nuclear blackmail.
Pakistan position changed on 10th May morning after its air bases were effectively put out of action. All you have to do is to look at who called who to negotiate the terms of the cessation of firing. By the way, we are living in a day and age where you have satellite pictures available commercially. I urge you to look at the satellite pictures of the sites which Pakistan says or claims to have attacked in India. Contrast it with the sites and places which we successfully targeted and destroyed. That will give you a clear answer. Claiming victory is an old habit. The military action from our side was entirely in the conventional domain. This was also made very clear in the defense briefing yesterday. There were some questions also which were asked. There were some reports, however, that Pakistan National Command Authority will meet on 10th May, which we saw, but this was later denied by them. Pakistan FM has himself denied the nuclear angle on record. So, Rishabh, that also answers your question. As you know, India has a firm stance that it will not give in to nuclear blackmail or allow cross-border terrorism to be conducted invoking it. In conversations with various countries, we have also cautioned that their subscribing to such scenarios could hurt them in their own region.
And joining us now is a former ambassador, Kanwal Sibal. We also have Lieutenant Colonel Atul Holkar, who is a geopolitics expert, and Jonah Blank is author and served as policy director for South and Southeast Asia on the US Senate for Foreign Relations Committee. Ambassador Sibal, beginning with you, sir. India has effectively put out proofs for the world. There are imageries that have been put out. There is enough indication as to what has been the outcome, the new red line, as we keep talking about. Then why is Pakistan continuing with its lies and bluster?
Well, the interesting thing is that we've had to defend ourselves in terms of the media coverage that we have in the Western world about the outcome of the military exchanges between India and Pakistan, by our spokesman very rightly saying that now everything is available commercially with satellite imagery, and the people can themselves see whether Pakistani's claims of attacking our air bases have any merit, and compare that with the evidence we have put out, and then use the same imagery to arrive at the right conclusion. But the unfortunate part is that, barring some voices here and there, the Western media is buying the Pakistani initiative. Somehow they don't want the story to come out. Then in these exchanges, Pakistan got the worst end of this stick, and that Pakistan was pushed into a situation where it had to appeal to the United States of America to intervene and persuade India to declare a ceasefire. Now, this is unfortunate for a variety of reasons. One, that our expectation and legitimate expectation that Pakistan would draw the right conclusions from this may actually not prove right, in the sense that the mood in Pakistan, the kind of story that they're telling themselves, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, the army chief, the street, all of them, and the social media that emanates from Pakistani sources in Pakistan and abroad, all seem to claim that either Pakistan got the upper hand or it was a draw. And the attention of the global media is only on whether India lost a Rafale to a Chinese missile or the performance of the JC-10, as if that was the crux of the entire confrontation between India and Pakistan. Somehow there is this, one gets the feeling that the Western media is absolutely reluctant to recognize that Pakistan got a beating. Why this is so, how deeply this is ingrained into the long-standing negative feelings about India, the narratives that we have seen in recent years about India, especially the present government, they just don't want to give the impression that the current government, which has changed, as Prime Minister rightly said, the paradigm of dealing with Pakistan can be acknowledged positively. They don't want to acknowledge it. Somehow they want to protect Pakistan. The consequence of this is whether Pakistan would have learned the right lesson and whether they would actually abjure using terrorism as an instrument of state policy, which they have done for almost 3 decades.
Yes.
I am a bit concerned that this will not happen, because if Pakistan were to give up this instrument and all that goes along with it, which means going to the UN General Assembly and abusing India, using the OIC to give the confrontation with India religious cover, on Kashmir Day, the Pakistani politicians engaging in unhinged rhetoric, but talking about Kashmir as the jugular vein of Pakistan. And so long as this Pakistan army chief, who's a mullah in Pakistani uniform, I don't think there will be a change in the mindset of the Pakistani army. Finally, if it was acknowledged that the Pakistan army was not able to defend Pakistan sufficiently, it will have serious repercussions domestically in Pakistan with regard to the role of the Pakistani army in the Pakistani state. And that itself can give rise to a lot of internal tensions, which could actually start pulling Pakistan apart.
But why is, the fact is that, Jonah Blank, that Pakistan here sought ceasefire. That's the truth of the matter. It's a statement of fact. Then why are they shying away from accepting that they were on the back foot, that India first struck terror camps inside Pakistan, then went ahead and pushed and targeted their air bases, and they were completely, they were completely damaged, and they had no other option but to go ahead and seek ceasefire? Why is Pakistan denying it, and why is the world, several sections, particularly in the Western media, not able to accept truth?
Well, Pakistan's goal for decades has been the same: to internationalize the Kashmir conflict. They've been utterly unable to achieve their ends by war. India has beaten Pakistan in every military engagement so far, so they're trying to win in the negotiating table what they can't win on the battlefield. And you're quite right. I think the international media has not really looked at the details very carefully. One of the things that concerns me the most is the US administration's handling of this has unwittingly helped the Pakistani narrative without even realizing what they've done.
Why use fabricated videos to claim that India was hit, Lieutenant Colonel Atul Holkar? I mean, the aim was to incite communal tensions in India, and that is the reason why when we look at Pahalgam and the brutal killing of 25 of our citizens on that day, it was, there was a degree of religious profiling which happened that day. Lieutenant Colonel Holkar. Okay, we'll try and connect with him. Ambassador Sibal, will you take that question?
Say it again. Can you repeat it?
You know, Pakistan indulged in nuclear blackmail. They weaponized the civil aviation. That's the fact. They deny aggression. They play victim. How long will this continue?
I think this will continue because that is the raison d'etre of Pakistan. I mean, if they give up hostility to India, then how do they keep united as a country? You've seen what's happening on the Balochistan front. You've seen what's happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Look at the massive strategic setback that they received in Afghanistan, where the Taliban, whom they had put in power there or facilitated their accession to power there, has turned against them and they are fighting each other. And Sindh also is restive. The economic situation is very poor. For the 24th time, they've gone to the IMF for a bailout. And yes, the Pakistani military seems to have resources to be able to boost their military arsenal and have that confidence that they can trigger somehow a conflict with India or take the risk of triggering a conflict with India by continuing to support terrorism, despite the messages that had been sent to them when we had our precision strikes as well as the Barakot operation. But this time, of course, the message has been driven home very, very strongly. But I'd like to add what was just said about the American position. It's very unfortunate that that Trump has totally messed up the U.S. diplomacy in this regard by the equivalence that he has created between India and Pakistan politically, militarily, morally, and in fact talking about how important it is the U.S. relationship with both countries and using trade as a weapon, saying that if the two sides didn't agree, he would cease to trade with them. And as a reward, he will now trade with them even more. But look at Pakistan. U.S. trade with Pakistan is only $7 billion. With United States is $200 billion. With India is $200 billion, plus everything else in terms of services and what the role that the Indian diaspora is playing in the American economy and in the American political system. So why is he? And then of course he's embarrassing India by making it appear that India has been compelled to agree to a ceasefire because President Trump desired it. He wanted it. I mean, this is diminishing India's status. If we are partners, then we should be treated as partners, and our sensitivities and our concerns should be taken into account. And he has enough. Trump and the Americans have enough experience of Pakistan's resort to terrorism against them, not to give them a pass like that. And in his current statement, he has said nothing about Pakistan's role in terrorism. If he had said in his statement, which is unsatisfactory in so many ways, that he's also called upon Pakistan to deal with the terrorism issue forcefully and credibly, then there would have been some internal balance in his statement. But he's talking about friendship with both countries, talking to leaders with both countries, treating them at the same level, and not giving us the agency to decide when we should stop and when we should not stop. When our entire approach, right from the start, was that we did not want to escalate. We limited our strikes only to the terrorist hubs. We made it clear we are not attacking the Pakistan military. But when they started attacking our military bases and civilians, then we had to react. But right from the start, we have been saying that our reaction has been proportional, carefully calibrated, and that we're not interested in de-escalation. So we would have agreed to a ceasefire if Pakistan had demanded it, and indirectly the Prime Minister has made it very clear that this ceasefire has not taken place because of any American intervention. It's because Pakistan drew the right. They were
Pakistan sorted. That is the truth of it. Lieutenant Colonel Holkar, welcome to NDTV. We are discussing how Pakistan's dirty tricks department, is on an overdrive, and they are trying to project a completely different picture, far removed from the truth.
Yeah, Marya, Jai Hind, Marya, and Jai Hind to all the panelists on the show. Marya, if you understand the very psyche of Pakistan, it was created on a bedrock of lies. It said, we could not live as a civilization with the majority Hindus in the erstwhile Indian state. And if you look from 1947, then they started that they were not it was not their soldiers which attacked Kashmir at that point of time. And since then, they have won every war with India. And so wonderfully well, they are cheating their own people. The army tell lies to the public of Pakistan. The Prime Minister speaks more lies to its own set of people. The largest parties, the elected Prime Minister is in the jail. So what narrative do you think they would be building? They have to, otherwise there's no survival. If you see the victory parade that came out in Lahore and Karachi and Islamabad after the announcement of so-called ceasefire, not from our side, we said stoppage of fire, and they called it ceasefire. I mean, it appeared as if they're so relieved. And if you look into the entire 5-6 days of narrative on their televisions, on their YouTube channels, onto Twitter, it appeared that they've really won the world war. Fact of the matter is, if they don't do that, and if they don't say that, how will this nation survive? And that's the fact.
Thank you so much for joining us on this discussion, gentlemen, Lieutenant Colonel Holkar, Kanwal Sibal and Jonah Blank. Shifting focus now to someone who has felt it very, very closely. Nimrat Kaur is an actor and a daughter who lost her father, a man in uniform, to Pakistan-sponsored terrorism 3 decades ago in Kashmir. She is joining us live. Nimrat, I'm speaking to you at a time when Prime Minister Modi has addressed the nation. He has spoken to the soldiers, in fact, the warriors who fought for India during Operation Sindoor. As someone who is from the Fauji family, what are your thoughts on the wars and and particularly about this latest conflict between India and Pakistan?
Well, Marya, I am a daughter of a martyr, actually. And, that is something that I walk with a lot of awareness regarding. Because, the life that I have led, not just being an army daughter, but also being the daughter of a soldier who lost his life to terrorism in Kashmir in the year 1994. This is an ongoing problem for just too many years now. And it is a kind of a disease that has gripped our country every now and then, whether it's attacks on civilians or on our armed forces or on our on our army facilities. It's something that, it pains me from the deepest level of my heart, where innocent lives are lost, our brave soldiers are lost. So I feel like terrorism firstly has no place in this world. And when it becomes a question of our country, it feels much more personal. And every loss and every life that is lost feels personal. And Operation Sindoor, which was led by the government of India, by our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, along with our armed forces, I feel like it was a befitting reply and a response to something that needs to be nipped in the bud. It's a problem that goes so deep that the enablers of that problem and the people who back that kind of a mindset, whether it's the schooling, whether it's the grounds which are fertile enough for such heinous activities to take place, all of that needs to be uprooted in a manner that it never, ever sees the day of light again.
Nimrat, you spoke
light
about...
of day again, I'm sorry.
Nimrat, you spoke about your personal loss, having lost your father to Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. How do you look at Operation Sindoor? Will it really act as a deterrent, as the government certainly is hoping it would? You're a martyr's daughter. Will it really act as a deterrent, and will it perhaps begin the end of terrorism?
I feel like it's the strongest start we could have had. And there is nothing more important than letting them know that this simply cannot go on. See, I'm not an expert on military strategies or warfare, politics, or any of that stuff. I am a citizen of this country. I am an affected party in a way where my family and I have dealt with this loss for more than 3 decades now. We lost my father in 1994 in Verinag in Kashmir whilst he was in service. So we lost him there to an act of calculated terrorism. It was very much, something that just wasn't a freak occurrence. It was something that was planned and executed in the most, I would say, in the most ghastly way. And if not today, then when? If not now, then when? These are the kind of operations and these are the kind of moves and a hard sort of a stand that needs to be taken against terrorism. Who am I to say, how this is going to pan out or not? But I feel like there's nothing better and nothing more important that can and should have been done in the way that it was carried out. And they are going for where terrorism exists and for where the bedrock of such activities is somewhere set. And I feel like there is nothing more important than that as a nation, as an army daughter, as the daughter of a martyr who lost his life in action.
Nimrat, in Operation Sindoor, India actually struck 9 terror bases inside Pakistan. These were seen as launch pads, almost like factories from where the entire terror operation, ran. India carried out this operation against inside Bahawalpur and Muridke as well. What are your thoughts with regards to this name, Operation Sindoor, the code name which Prime Minister himself gave and led from the front?
It really tugged at the strings of my heart, to be very honest. It was something that felt so personal because this is no coincidence. The loss feels personal. He has gone on to say that, this is not just a name for him. It is a choice because something so symbolic of a woman's marital bliss and her identity being married to somebody has been robbed from her in broad daylight. And the life that she's going to lead from here on is going to be devoid of that, just the presence of her loved one, the man that she was married to. And we all know what a sindoor symbolizes. It's very personal. It's extremely hard-hitting. And somewhere, all of us knew why this is a choice. This is not something that is a secret or in any way a mystery.
To you, and particularly, when the communication was happening during the entire operation, one thing that stood out for me personally was those 2 women officers, and of course with the Foreign Secretary, Colonel Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika. Did it actually play out on your mind as well, that, how effective it was and how high on symbolism and messaging as well?
Oh, 100%. It was no coincidence again. And I feel like we aren't the only ones, Marya. It's not just you and me. I think that the whole nation stood up and, we all had that moment of pride that, you wanted to break us on our unity. You wanted to break us. You wanted to hit us below the belt in a way, figuratively speaking. And you have somewhere hit us where it hurts the most. And nothing and no one can come in the way of us as a nation. And for that communication to go through via 2 strong women who belong to different, social backgrounds and they represent different parts of a society and parts of our country. This is India. And this is what I feel so proud of. 2 women in uniform leading the way, telling the enemy and telling, the perpetrators of the peace of our country, really, what is absolutely not going to happen here on.
Nimrat Kaur, thank you for joining us on NDTV. That's all from me on this edition of The Last Word.